There is a pattern in the world that most people see, but few truly question. Injustice is not always delivered as a direct blow. It is often much quieter than that. It appears disguised as a rule, a tradition, a habit, a phrase like, "That's just how the world works." And over time, these phrases begin to sound harmless, even reasonable. But what makes injustice truly dangerous is not only its existence, it is how easily it becomes accepted. When people stop questioning it, injustice stops feeling like something imposed. It starts feeling like something natural, almost inevitable, as if inequality is not a choice made over time, but a law of nature that cannot be changed. And that is where the real distortion begins. Because in many systems, it has been normalized that some accumulate far more than others. Resources, opportunities, stability, influence. And this accumulation is often labeled as success, or intelligence, or strategy, or simply business. But when you look closer, the story becomes more complex. Because when someone from a lower position tries to protect what is little they have, the language changes. Suddenly, the same behavior is no longer called a strategy, it is called aggression, or resistance, or even irresponsibility. The judgment becomes sharper, the criticism becomes louder, the reaction becomes stronger. And it raises an uncomfortable question. Why is it acceptable for some to accumulate endlessly, but unacceptable for others to simply defend what is theirs? The answer often has less to do with actions themselves and more with who is performing them. This is where morality becomes complicated, because in many cases, morality is not a fixed truth. It is a structure shaped by influence, a system of definitions that often reflects the interests of those who hold power. What is considered right or wrong is frequently adjusted to preserve stability for those who already benefit from the system. And in that adjustment, something important happens. What should be questioned becomes celebrated, and what should be understood becomes condemned. Not because the nature of the actions has changed, but because the perspective defining them is not neutral. This is why injustice can exist in plain sight and still feel invisible, because it is not always presented as something wrong, it is presented as something normal. There is, however, a quiet form of dignity that exists outside of these structures. It belongs to those who resist without resources, to those who defend what is theirs without support, without influence, without recognition, without applause. That kind of resistance is often misunderstood. It is not born from aggression, it is born from limits. From the moment a person realizes that constant surrender is not peace, but disappearance. That giving up everything repeatedly does not lead to harmony, but to erasure. And that realization changes how someone stands in the world. The deeper issue is not only visible injustice, it is the collective indifference that allows it to continue. Because systems do not sustain themselves alone. They are repeated, accepted, normalized. While a few define the rules, many others follow them without questioning. Not always in agreement, sometimes out of habit, sometimes out of fear. Sometimes it's simply because questioning feels too exhausting, and so obedience begins to look like correctness, even when it is not. But conscience is not silent forever. Eventually, it becomes uncomfortable, even for those who benefit from the imbalance. Because at some level, awareness does not disappear completely. People know when something feels unfair, even if they avoid naming it, even if they choose not to act on it. That silence does not erase understanding, it only contains it. And over time, that silence also becomes part of the structure. It helps sustain the very reality it quietly questions. This is why integrity is not measured by how closely someone follows rules. It is measured by whether they can question them when they are distorted. Because legality and justice are not always the same thing. What is legal is not automatically fair, and what is punished is not automatically wrong. Systems can be flawed, rules can be biased, norms can be outdated or intentionally shaped, and recognizing that requires clarity, not convenience. True integrity sometimes means standing against what is accepted, not out of rebellion for its own sake, but out of awareness, because there are moments where obedience is not virtue and acceptance is not peace. Sometimes dignity is not found in compliance, it is found in refusal. Refusal to call the distortion normal. Refusal to confuse inequality with inevitability. Refusal to stay silent when something is clearly wrong. And in that refusal, something important remains alive. Not just resistance, but conscience. And in a world where so much is repeated without thought, that may be one of the few things still worth protecting. If you loved this video, make sure to like this and subscribe to this channel for more content like this.